everyone, we're back live for D.TOX. It's day 4, 10 days
4.
left. Just as a reminder, I'm Coach Anika. I'll be your host tonight along with Amber McMillan. She heads up our weight loss division at Lifetime. We're excited to talk with you really today because this is an integral part of the program where we're heading into our first weekend, detoxing. There can be a lot of conversation about how to avoid disaster, how to stick to the program. But we also thought it'd be important to talk about all the feelings and symptoms that you're probably experiencing. I know a lot of people are experiencing just based off of my text messages in the inbox. So we want to talk about why that happens and really how to smoothly sail through the next 10 days of the program.
So such an important part, like you said. The first weekend is a big one. But let's first talk about the first 3 days. And I know we answered a lot of questions, and there's a bit of a mixed bag on how everyone's feeling. I know for myself versus the team that's doing this with you, you know, a little bit of maybe brain fog and some mild symptoms. But for a lot of you, I think top was probably headache. So I want to kind of get into some of these symptoms just because we got a lot of questions on why am I getting certain symptoms. So why are a lot of folks feeling that headache? And hopefully you're through that part on day 4. I know I have crossed over. I feel so much better.
Good.
The first day was rough. The second day rough. Feeling great now. But the headaches do set in early on. So what's causing that?
So for a lot of people, I will say it's a lack of caffeine and the lack of sugar. But then the third one that might not be really thinking about is dehydration.
Dehydration, not drinking enough water.
And it's literally the one thing that I've seen with my clients that I've coached personally through D.TOX, where if they're drinking ample water or even more than ample water, they usually can get away with no headaches. And I would say that's how I am. I usually don't get headaches the first few days. But the number 2 symptom that most people are dealing with is gas and constipation. And that is the reality of a program. So I've gotten texts about that. If you're wondering at yourself, like, ooh, I just feel really gassy right now, that's super normal. A lot of that just has to do with what your body is kind of transforming. Anytime you're making huge changes in your diet, your digestive tract, your absorption, it has to kind of rebalance and get familiar with what you're actually doing. And that's kind of how I look at food. It's your way of sending specific signals to your body of what you want it to do. And for some people, you might be transitioning from a really processed diet, and processed food's really digested already. It's easy to digest. Ironically,
not a lot of fiber in processed
There's not
foods.
a lot of fiber. So then when you go to Whole Foods, it's the number one thing I always hear is like, I'm trying to eat healthy, but all of a sudden I'm gassy and bloated and not going to the bathroom on a regular basis. So my best advice is hang in there. You should be crossing over though by these next few days. And if you feel like, ooh, I haven't pooped since I started, raise your hand, like email our inbox. Our coaches will help you through that with strategies. But the idea is you will be a little bit gassy for a little bit longer, but overall it usually does subside.
It is, and it is like the introduction of so many great foods, like the vegetables. And you may want to adjust some of the vegetables you choose, but they have a lot of fiber, which is actually really good. So while these symptoms aren't fun in the beginning, it is kind of calibrating your body, and it's allowing you to have enough fiber to kind of push all those toxins, which I know these are topics that we may not be talking about, but I know it's the real deal of detox, and trust me, we've talked about it for the last decade. So you'll get through it just fine, and you're doing yourself a good deed here by getting through these first few days and making sure you have enough fiber in your diet. So the other big one I saw a lot of, and I think it's for me personally, is cravings. So talk a little bit about the cravings. Is it maybe you're not getting enough protein or enough total calories, or you know, is it just that maybe there's other foods that I was eating prior that I'm just missing, and I need to try to fill that void with some new snacks?
Absolutely. Cravings are usually super habitual. A lot of us just tend to go and snack, especially a lot of us are at home still for a lot of the day right now. It's 100% habit. But you still might need to check your meals to make sure, do I have enough fat? Do I have enough fiber and protein? Because that will really solidify your hunger hormones and your cravings. If you feel like you're just looking for stuff to eat, it's probably habitual. So you need to figure out different strategies.
Be aware of that,
You should be aware of that. And it might be like a strategy of like anytime I have a client between 4 and 6 every day, she's like, I just leave the house. I go for a walk. I do errands because during that time every day, I just am anxious and that's when I do it. But then for others, maybe you need to find some really great snacks. And hopefully these first 3 days, I know for me, I needed more snacks this time.
Yep.
I was doing my shake, I was doing my lunch, but I was doing olives and cashews at work every day just to make sure I felt good and I could get to dinner without being starving for the most part.
So the only other one I think that comes up is just mood changes. Maybe feeling a little lethargic, maybe not feeling like yourself, not the energy that you used to have. So maybe a little bit on just like the overall mood changes.
Yeah. So first point, hopefully you're starting to sleep better, because some people will usually say that. And ironically, it's probably because there's no caffeine and alcohol, which those are huge sleep disruptors for a lot of adults, I would say, for the most part, me included. My sleep's gotten really good.
So has mine. We were
week.
just talking about that.
Yeah, it was like,
we're sleeping so good.
Really good.
Yep.
But so hopefully that can transition your mood. But if you feel like you've got ups and downs, blood sugar swings can have a huge impact on mood as well too. And again, getting enough fat. Fat's like one of the fuels that people don't realize that actually improves your mood. So make sure you're getting enough healthy fats in your day too.
Awesome.
For sure. Other things with those symptoms, so again, we're hopefully crossing over. If you still feel like, I don't have the energy, I don't feel good, I want to give you a couple more strategies. So first, check your water. I did talk about that, but half your body weight in ounces is always the golden rule. If you need more, you might need more. Maybe you chug 20 ounces right when you wake up in the morning. I usually do that.
And I've seen some great pictures of putting fruit in your water. I mean, we all need that, right? Water can be really boring, but adding some fruit and some bubbly, sparkling water definitely helps a ton. So it's not just kind of a boring task.
I love that. Go to bed earlier. You might actually need more sleep too.
I think the first night, I'm going to admit, I went to bed at 7:30.
Oh, well, that's great. So, that's really, I thought you were going to say midnight.
No,
I was like, that's really good.
I had definitely had the low energy, but I'm back to myself now.
That's
again,
great.
All of you are going to have a little bit of adjustment as far as your bedtime and your sleep schedule.
Love that. You might need to scale back on the fiber too. So we were talking about that with the gas. So again, it depends on where your body started. So if you're like jumping into a ton of vegetables, the fiber powder, and you have that distended abdomen where it's like, oh, I want to keel over. You might need to scale back and then kind of gradually increase the fiber powder. That's in the kit specifically. So know that too. That you should increase with your fluid. That will help with the constipation or the gassiness too. And then we were talking about this too, like the Epsom salt baths, like doing those on a regular basis with the sauna. That will also help your body purge the toxins more so, support the system so that if your body was just over toxic, like a lot of us are, it might just take a little bit.
Find ways to sweat. If you're walking or working out, I mean, the more you can sweat, the better during this phase.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the weekend. So
let's talk about the fun. It's happy hour, isn't it?
It is happy hour. So we did have a couple options here. So I know you're drinking the kombucha.
Yes.
I do not like kombucha personally, so I will not be drinking that. But a lot of people love kombucha. And then I'm just doing sparkling water. I like this one. I just had this for the first time today with a bunch of fruit. And again, it's Thursday, so I know for a lot of people, this kind of begins the drink at night to really calm down, to just feel good. And into the weekend. So again, just having some solutions so you feel like you're not missing out.
And I think that's kind of the big thing is we do have these habits, but a lot of them are just fun habits and things that you enjoy, like having a glass of wine or a cocktail, as we talked about in the first class that we hosted. Sometimes it is just part of your life and it's not a bad thing. But while you're detoxing, just it's like the alternative, right? Like this still feels fun. We'll talk about the snacks and how to plan for the weekend, but just give that a try because I think you'll be surprised that, you know what, I actually didn't miss the alcohol part of it.
No.
And I know, again, I'm doing this for a good cause, so I kind of got a win-win out of it.
Yep, it's more the social aspect more than anything and just relaxing on the couch if you're a movie at night kind of thing. So cheers, I guess, for this. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Okay. So then what else I want to make sure to avoid basically disaster this weekend, because that is the anxious part of the program, Saturday and Sunday. Saturdays and Sundays are always hard because we don't have as much structure as human beings. So usually a lot of us, not everybody, we don't have work, we don't have the drop-offs in the morning, the ins and outs of the day. So you really want to make sure you create some structure in that routine that you usually do.
Eating out and food is some of the fun on the weekend. So we know that becomes a hard part to get through, but let's talk about strategies.
Yeah, so number one rule, don't miss your shake. So again, do the shake. The shake is like your anchor of the program. So maybe you do it different if you're kind of a later breakfast eater on the weekends. I know a lot of clients are like, I don't really crave breakfast first thing, but maybe you have your shake later in the day or a different meal, but just make sure you do the shake no matter what. So the fiber, the detox nutrients, and powder. Try to stick to a bedtime. I know that's hard. It changes for a lot of us on the weekend, but that will help. So whatever you're doing during the weekdays, try to do that during the weekend. And then carry water wherever you go. If you just stick to those 3 things, that's going to get you 80% most of the time. So just make sure you have a carry water bottle if you're running errands, whatever you're doing.
And like we talked about, if you do slip up or, you know, the weekend happens and you really do want to have a little bit of a glass of wine or a White Claw or something, again, don't let that destroy your entire program. You've come this far. One drink, and maybe if you have some caffeine or you kind of fall off the program and you had something that's not approved, don't let it wreck your program. Get right back on, because you still have a lot of good going on. And I think that's where people really misstep. They feel like, you know what, all right, I'm just going to quit and do it again another time. Don't quit.
They think whatever they've done so far isn't worth it anymore. And it's like, no, there's good stuff going on inside your body.
90% is doing yourself a lot of good, even if you have 10% of it that maybe was off.
Love it. So then there might be more social situations in your weekend too. So we were talking about like just better ways to provide eating. So we made this right before, which it looks amazing, but just simple charcuterie boards are super popular. So I'm sure you've seen them or heard about them before, but just simple stuff like this would cure any craving. I feel like any of my clients would have, but just putting something, making it presentable in a way so it makes it feel good. You can play restaurant at home any day of the week like that.
What do we have on here? Just a couple of things.
Some of my favorite things. So we just have some uncured like salami and prosciutto. These are those simple milk crackers I showed you guys last week. They are detox approved. It's literally almond flour and tapioca starch. It's simple. I love that brand.
Love when crackers
are
approved.
And that makes it a little bit more fun. So then just some raw cashews, some fruit, olives are my go-to. We talked about the dates too, like dates with a little nut butter at night can cure any sweet tooth that I've come across, and then carrots and then a really solid good hummus.
I mean, delicious.
Cucumbers. Yeah,
and again,
easy.
I think, as you do this and you start to realize, wow, like this is actually really good food, and it becomes a mainstay. When you know you're really transitioning after detox is when some of these things become just part of how you now host your weekends versus going to maybe a lot of the other foods that were in your diet. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but as you start to transition some of these, you realize, wow, this is actually really tasty, and I didn't need all the other kind of processed foods that I had in my diet anyway.
Yeah, and it's family friendly too, honestly.
Kids love it.
Gobble that all up, and it's not weird, and it's food. So that's the best part. If you like to restaurant or support your local restaurants, that's a big thing, especially over the last year we all had. Just looking at menus ahead of time or just keeping it simple. Like I always just call and ask, like, what's the sauces that you're using? Have all the sauces on the side so you can control it. But just literally meat, vegetables, the rice, the potato, just keep it simple and you can still dine out and have fun.
And and it's going to taste good, because it tastes good sometimes when you're not the one having to cook, which is
the
fun of it, right?
Yeah, that is the best part. I always like salmon or seafood at restaurants. I don't like to prep that at home. So that's always a go-to for me. Okay, so next week. So if you get through the weekend, we're going to be prepping food this weekend though too for the following week. So a couple strategies to get you through week 2. So hopefully you have a sense of small accomplishment but confidence that, okay, I understand this plan. I kind of know what my day-to-day is going to look like. This is a good time to say, do you need to make any changes in what happened this last week? Was there any things you're like, oh shoot, I'm not going to make that recipe again, or
I need more snacks packed.
More snacks packed. Maybe you want to try a couple recipes. Maybe you were really simple. Amber does just simple meats and vegetables. You'll probably do that again because that's just your habit. But maybe she would try a couple of new recipes if she needed some variability or new ideas. So you do want to spend some time now to think, what do I want to repeat or change up for the next week?
Well, and I've also been inspired by the Facebook group as I'm seeing such great, beautiful pictures of food. It actually has inspired me. I think I do want some variety. So I'm going to make some new recipes this weekend. So thank you all for
the avocado salad on there. I always am like, I want to do that.
So
or the Taco Tuesday post too. That was a good one.
That was a good one.
I love that one. So we're going to batch cook. We do next week change the amount of shakes we drink, but not till next Thursday, day 11. Okay, so let's talk about that, because right now we're doing 1 shake a day. When we hit day 11, so the last few days of the program, we do 2 shakes. So we ramp up the detox nutrients and the detox processes in your system.
Okay, so let's talk about where do you put the second shake? That feels hard sometimes for people to add in another shake. So what's your recommendation on how to plan for that second shake?
So first I will ask the individual, like how are you feeling as far as satiety goes? So are you feeling full with most meals, or do you need the snacks? I would say for a lot of people, if they have a goal of weight loss and they're like, hey, no, I want to, as much as possible, use this system for that, I might have you substitute the second shake for a second meal. Okay. And I would say for most people, it works really good, like breakfast and dinner.
Right.
Because of how our lives are today, that usually seems a little bit easier. But if you have a small young family at home, maybe you want to eat dinner with your kids and do breakfast and lunch, and that would be okay. I would only do that if you feel full with the shakes right now. So if you're drinking the shake and you're like, no, I need like a morning snack, we're not going to do that. So then I would say use the shake as a snack. And most of my clients will do it after dinner because that's when they want their little treat or sweet fix. But how you make a snack shake is very different than a meal shake.
Yes, we talked a lot about this.
Yes, because shakes can get out of little hand.
Shakes can get out of hand. We have really great recipes, but if you're overdoing it, and we've seen this before where a little bit of nut butter becomes a lot of nut butter, and a little bit of cacao nibs becomes a lot, and maybe there's extra fruit in there. Well, now we could be getting into a place where that's just maybe too much, too many calories. So a snack shake, maybe give a little bit of a sense on how you would make a snack shake versus some of the maybe more filling shakes that would replace a meal.
So it's literally just the powders. So it's the D.TOX protein powder plus the fiber, and then your choice of liquid. You could do water, you could still do unsweetened almond milk, and that would be fine.
And some ice.
And some ice. So if you want to blend it up so it's nice and smooth, blend it up, you could just get a shaker cup and shake it up. I often do that with the chocolate. I have the chocolate mix right now, and I just do that at nighttime. Either one would be okay. But assess how hungry you are.
Yeah, honestly. I think that's an important one, that we're making sure that we're not making that shake too gourmet, and it tastes really good just with the liquid and the ice. And so just make sure it tastes good for you, but also if you've pretty much feel full and have enough calories, the whole purpose of the second shake is to get additional nutrients in without maybe all of the extra calories. So that's a good tip, and I know we've come across that a lot with folks in the program that are kind of like, do I need to prep like 2 big shakes and have all of my meals?
No.
So
the answer is no, simply. I love that. Other things you might feel more confident about, again, you've already navigated the food this week, is if you assess your activity. I would say, are you getting walks in every day? How's your exercise? Have that kind of taken the back seat, which is totally fine. And I actually advise that for a lot of people. This is a big change for a lot of people. But next week, I would say, let's get some activity in. Let's get some strength training in. Maybe some classes, some of our on-demand classes would be great at home too, or hit the club. Not only for the sauna, but just to get a workout in, I would say on a regular basis would also help advance the detox processes that are going on inside your body.
And it's a good habit to start. For a lot of you, I know you were working out prior to starting detox. If you weren't, this is again the time when hopefully as you get into week 2, your energy starts surging, you're feeling good. Let's start the exercise habit, because that is one of the core habits that we want you to sustain, obviously for a healthy living. So it's a good time when you're feeling that surge of energy, because when you're exercising too, it helps you eat better. So when you're not on detox and exercise is a core part of your life,
for sure,
it sets you up to eat better, to feel better, to not have maybe as many blood sugar swings. So the exercise habit is a big one of mine, to make sure you're trying to at least start small, start with activity, and then if you can get in some strength training, we know that's a critical part as well.
It's a key why a lot of the nutrition-only programs out there don't work. They really don't. So that's great advice. I love that. And then finally, I would say, again, we're going to be ending the program next weekend, not this weekend, but the following, so 10 more days. So we won't, we'll keep our eye on the finish line, but just thinking about, like, do you like this shake thing? Because I would say we're already starting to get questions like, hey, can I do another kit right after? And that is an FAQ, and it kind of depends on the individual. But if you're someone that's like, I just like the idea of a shake, we have a lot of vegan formulas. I have one right here, just vegan protein. Or we have a vegan all-in-one. And this is really dependent on the individual, where if you like the idea of making recipes and adding your own ingredients to protein powder, you might do the vegan protein. If you're like, I just like the meal replacement life, I want to shake it up, just add water or liquid, the all-in-one, which we'll make sure we link for you guys too. But start thinking about that too. Like, hey, when detox is over, I want to keep up some of these habits. The shake habit
so the only difference, because we do get that question a lot, is between the vegan protein and the vegan all-in-one is just basically the all-in-one has carbs, so protein, carbs, and fat. So it's more like a meal. versus just protein, which is the vegan protein. Really no carbs, no fat. So if you're adding fruit and whatnot to your shakes, then just do the basic protein. Otherwise, to Anika's point, do the all-in-one because you're getting kind of more of the macronutrients in there, more like a meal. But that's what we call our transition shake. That's what we call our maintenance shake. So how do I come off a detox? I mean, for most people, keeping a shake habit is something they want to stick with. And we know we stick with our shake habit on most days. And so that is just the great way to transition off and start to reintroduce foods, but keep your shake as part of your kind of daily habit.
Love it. Awesome.
So,
I think that's it, honestly.
Okay.
So again, job well done. If you've made it this far, that's huge. These are
Yes.
huge nutrition changes for a
Huge.
lot of people. If you're experiencing some of the symptoms, hang in there. If you feel like something's not right, reach out to us. We're here to
Yep.
coach you and guide
Yep.
you through that. But again, try to take some of these strategies, enjoy the weekend
Yes.
and this essence, and you can
Yes.
stick to the program.
Yes, absolutely. Enjoy the weekend. So you shouldn't feel like this is boring and lame and I can't do anything and I can't hang out with my friends. You can, definitely. And again, you'll start to find that a lot of these little strategies make it just as fun. And so
Yeah.
we are excited for you and so happy that we're going to roll into week 2. And I know so many of you are going to feel so good as you come out of the weekend.
That's awesome.
So-
Love it. So that's it, you guys. Happy Thursday.
Happy
Cheers
Thursday.
again. Hopefully you're drinking with us.
Cheers.
And we'll see you later. Bye.